And I think really anyone who's doing what they want to do, I don't think they're special or geniuses. I think they just work harder than anyone else. You know, I think it's just putting in those hours.
As the world of animation continues to grow, I think it's important to look at the work of Don Hertzfeldt, who from the beginning of his career has been an insurmountable influence in the industry, as well as a voice for independent artists everywhere. And whether or not you have seen his work, his influence exists in waves across the medium. But I think his work speaks for itself.
My anus is bleeding!
Okay, let's start over. In the world of filmmaking, the word independent gets thrown around a lot, to the point that we often see it as a genre rather than a mythology. But in that discussion, I think there's one name worth bringing to the table, and that is Don Hertzfeldt. Since the beginning of his career, Don Hertzfeldt has been a huge influence in the industry, most known for his Oscar-nominated short Rejected, which despite coming before the age of YouTube, Newgrounds, and other video sharing sites, has remained a cult classic. For a lot of us, this was our first exposure to underground animation. To see simple stick figures that anyone could draw tell a story as chaotic and arresting as Rejected inspired a generation of animators. It was a call to action, it was a call to do it yourself.
Young people have seen them and written to me and said, you know, it's stick figures, well I could do that. And they start animating.
And for those who haven't seen it, not wanting to commercialize his work, he would go on to make Rejected, a stream of random and increasingly unstable skits that mirror the artist's mental collapse. As his mind collapses, so does the world. The paper these cartoons are being drawn on literally crumbles. Equally manic and profound, it's able to bring its ideas together in just 9 minutes. It's widely considered one of the greatest short films of the century, and to this day, for many of us, it's one of the first times we made the distinction between a video and a short film. Rejected was a statement film, but it is far from all Hertzfeldt has to offer. If you look at his body of work, you'll see his shorts mature with him. He even got a second Oscar nomination for World of Tomorrow, and he shows no sign of slowing. But the highlight has to be his sole feature, a trilogy of his shorts put together to make the existential throw punch that is It's Such a Beautiful Day.
The checkout girl said, "How are you doing today?" Bill said, "Fine, thanks, how are you?" She didn't answer. Bill felt used.
The shame is that because we don't see many platforms that truly celebrate short films in America, names like Hertzfeldt rarely get to enter the public sphere. This is especially true of animation, where outside of music videos, most animation is either for commercials or kids' movies. Hertzfeldt has on many occasions said that we should value shorts. He believes that shorts are worth celebrating, shorts are worth paying for. His production company Bitter Films has allowed him to stay independent, and he has yet to, quote, sell out. The closest thing is being asked to create an intro for a popular adult cartoon.
I am Simpsons!
And they really didn't have any notes, and it was meant to be shorter, and they let it be as long as it was. They actually reduced the time of that episode to make it fit.
That's not to discredit those he's worked with. He keeps his crews to an absolute minimum because his process takes so much time. Up until recently, all of his animation has been hand-drawn, captured with an old film camera. And if you know anything about that process, it makes his work all the more impressive.
Remember as a kid how you made your own movies by drawing little figures on the pages of a pad and flipping the pages to make the figures move? That's the basic principle behind animated pictures today.
Because his process is so labor-intensive, he makes sure that his scripts are incredibly tight before he even starts. Since his drawings are so simple, every movement and gesture matters. Don Hertzfeldt's animation is an example of how efficient the medium can be with its time. A lot of his shorts often focus on one visual idea or gag that is elaborated on again and again. And this comes from a love of old silent films.
I've always loved silent films and silent film comedy. Billy's Balloon is just trying to be a Buster Keaton movie. And it's just this long take, and it's usually just one joke, and he does this something, and then the joke gets kind of old, and then there's a new element, and it's refreshed again, it's funny again.
He loves playing with multiple exposures and practical effects. To him, the image could be very malleable. A foggy memory was shot over clouds, rain was water on glass. The tearing of the psyche could literally be seen as holes in the paper being drawn on. This willingness to try new things is worth learning from, and not just from an animation standpoint. Good filmmakers pay attention to animation, and I think he puts it best himself.
I still feel like a filmmaker who draws rather than an animator.
Well, that's the end of the show, and I hope we've all learned a little something about the fascinating world of animation today, and can now think of it a little differently. An animated film is not just a random series of mindless, self-indulgent, violent cartoon images meant only to be enjoyed by young children or people with mental handicaps, but is a serious, valid art medium, all unto itself, in which the artist is free to explore the purity of the film medium down to each and every single frame. The animated arts are robots!
Okay, one more point. To see Don Hertzfeldt's collected works would take a little over a night, but the impact of some of his films will stay with you far longer. Don Hertzfeldt has a multitude of techniques and methods that are worth exploring and analyzing and even overanalyzing. But more than anything, I think he represents a principle that resonates with so many artists. It is the ability to not take yourself too seriously but still be serious about your work. It is the drive. It is the will to create stories regardless of your means. It is so easy to get caught up in the pressures of structure and correctness to forget the power we have with a pencil and piece of paper.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy.